My gosh, Glenn, you're kind of smashing it in your business, huh?
It's doing okay. It's doing pretty good.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah.
I want to hear a report on that. So
I do too, actually. I would love to hear because I always love to hear how people have had success in network marketing businesses.
I had a good teacher,
Cool.
Mr. Ball.
Yeah.
And I have to say,
Well, yeah, I suppose Martin was my first foray into network marketing. So,
right.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, things have been going pretty good. Thank you. So, but
I didn't do my homework, by the way. I'm not up to speed on Outwitting the Devil. I just felt like being here, so I'll just listen in.
Oh, well, to be fair, I mean, I was actually jumping on this morning, and then I got on a call with Mark Santos. And I've been working with some stuff with Mark, and we're actually going to release some new stuff that I'm more than happy to talk with you guys about. And then I had to jump on the phone, as I said, with the tax office, and that took 40 minutes. So I've not even got to it. I've got the first 5 or 10 minutes in, I think, max. So, but I'm happy for this to flow in any way we want. So if you want to hear more around with what Glenn's been doing and where he's at there, I'm more than happy for that to be the way it goes. It's really whatever this call is for you guys that you want to make it at this point.
I haven't done the homework either. I just jumped in the door about 5 minutes ago.
Jesus, I'm so out of sync. I'm like 3/4 of the way through chapter 6 and just chomping at the bit. And listen to chapter 5 twice. I come to this call. There's 4 people on it. And nobody's.
Not yet.
I swear to God, Russ, get your timing right.
Happy birthday.
You're either way behind or further in front, Ross. But that's, I've actually listened to it 3 times already this week. I've gone right from 6 right the way through into the middle of 9, if not 10, I think. And I have to say, for me, chapter 6 around hypnotic rhythms been one that I've really struggled to understand it.
It's also a long one. It's longer. It's an hour and some odd.
No, hypnotic rhythms only 25 minutes. Chapter 6.
It is. Well, I'm listening to it for 45. I'm just going by what it says on my little deal, and I've been listening. I never heard it move into another chapter, and I'm 45 minutes into the damn thing. So, if it's the last one, chapter 5, was like 29 minutes, anyway, I'm good. Then I must be into chapter 8.5. But I don't know. But
because then it goes into seeds, I think, and then into definiteness of purpose and
definiteness purpose is where I am right now.
Oh, right, okay. You're about chapter 9 then, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got really caught up in it, I guess. It just skipped right on ahead. Okay, that's great.
That's good. Yeah.
Better. I have to say something just for fun, and we are going to get you, Glenn. So don't think you're getting off the hook here. Okay.
Chapter 6 is 23 minutes.
I sent you a meme by email, Martin.
Oh, did you?
I just did it just a little while ago. So I don't know if you can. What I wanted you to do is share that meme here tonight.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make a funny crack at it since we're talking about the devil. And if we do get back to that after Glenn, I got some things to say about chapter 5 on. So I just
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, I've got it in front of me, so we can go into that in a bit if you like. But if we all want to hear from Glenn and what's been going on there, Glenn, I'm cool with that. Nancy and Russ, that's fine.
Nothing too special.
Because I know I only found out that you used to trade. Is that right, Glenn?
I was an interdealer broker.
Yeah.
So in between the likes of use global banks here, I suppose, Barclays Bank. And I don't know, one of my biggest customers was actually Morgan Stanley International and Chase Manhattan. So yeah, I stumbled into that arena through my wife's father. I went to London for a little while and he said, "You've been here 2 weeks now, you haven't got a job. What do you know about foreign exchange?" If you ever meet Ray, you'll know what he's like. He's like very, very forward. Nice dad. So I had a foreign exchange 101 lesson in his front room, had an interview. The job was already done anyway. And then progressed. I started off as a just trainee at 21 years old, and then left London in 2000, and so that was 88. I left there in 2005, and I worked my way through different desks, an international link desk, just dealing with other brokers, then onto a broker desk dealing with customers, and then I ended up managing what they called a boutique desk for about 5 years before I left London. So that was basically within the large banks, they all had very large dealing desks, trading particular currencies and particular products, I suppose, from deposits to forward rate agreements to swaps to two-way foreign exchange, all sorts. But our desk was a matter of the misfits of the banks, I suppose, where we had particular customers where the dealer dealt in several different currencies and several different products. So we became like a boutique desk of 10 or 12 people, ranging from overnight deposits right up to 30 and 40-year interest rate swaps, government bonds, the whole lot. So it's great grounding. But for one reason or another, I pulled the pin when I was managing that desk and said it's time to go back to Australia. It's good fun, but hard work. At that time, my kids were 12, 11 and 13. 13-year-old being a daughter, 11-year-old boy. And I'd missed a lot of them growing up. I used to go to work in the dark, come home in the dark, and see them at the weekends. You'd see them for an hour or so as I come in the door late at night, and then they'd be off to bed, and then that was it, So I went, nah, that's enough of that. So I pulled the plug, resigned, and then told my wife we're leaving. So she always knew that we were going to come back to Australia. But no, I just had enough of it. And I thought, well, I've missed the kids growing up. It's too much. And it was great when we came back to Australia. It was, the kids became kids again. They really, seemed to, I don't know what it was. I noticed that the kids back here, I just by fluke happened to move into a house not too far from my cousin, who has 3 girls around sort of the ages of my 2 kids. So that was great for them. And then, they became kids again. And, now my daughter turned 29 a week or so ago, end of July. And my son's coming up to 27. And 6'5". And, hard to control. I'm about 6 foot.
A big drink of water, 6'5". How much do you weigh? What's he
weigh?
weigh?
He's wet. I reckon he's about 70 kilos. So what's that? 150 pounds
for me.
Yeah, 2.2 pounds at the kilo. So about 150 pounds. There's nothing of him. He's like that. He's turned sideways. There's no shadow.
Beanpole.
He is a beanpole. Eats like a horse. Works for the post office where he lives. But there's nothing of him. And his girlfriend, bless her, is about 5'5". So
that's all.
I down there. Yeah. But no, so where I've ended up now, in the 2 businesses, and what you would have seen, one of them is a health and wellness business with, I'm happy talking about on here, is Isogenics. It just led on from my business. So we own a printing company, which my wife runs. I struggled with some mental health issues, which is when I went to meet Martin shortly after I'd been made redundant from a large mining company here that I've been working for 10 years, and went into like rideshare driving, like Uber driving, turned that into like private driving professionally, started my own business. That wasn't very successful, had the wrong sort of car, the wrong sort of environment, probably not ready for it. Went back to work for a traditional owner corporation, so Aboriginal corporation, on the front line, helping them sort of spend their money, dealing with the members. And I lasted 9 months. And the words were, I think I said to my wife, I have to get out of here. It's going to kill me, because it was just driving me into the ground. There's nothing you could do to please everybody at any time, whether it be the management or the members or the CEO, or the team were really good towards me because they were putting up with more, but I just can't deal with this. I pulled myself out, resigned. So I got finance sorted out on a better vehicle to go private driving with someone I knew, probably linked back to Martin. And and then just went, I'm not going back in the office. You can do what you like, but I'm not going back in the office. And luckily enough, they paid me out a couple of weeks, and they should have paid 4 weeks, but I was not going to set foot back into that office. I'd had professional advice. It was a caustic zone, and just don't go there. It's not going to be good for you. So I just made the decision to get out of there. Private driving was going pretty good until coronavirus came around, and then all my bookings, birthday parties, weddings, airport trips, which are very lucrative, especially with our fly-out mining guys here in Western Australia. So they're always early morning starts, and the partners won't drive them to the airport, so they've got to have someone to take them. And that was going quite well, and we were away actually in Fiji in the end of February. And I just watched my bookings on my phone going cancelled, cancelled, cancelled. Sorry, very much cancelled. Easter weekend came from very, very busy down to nothing. But where I am, I went, great, I've got Easter weekend with the family. So that actually freed up myself to be with my family. Saw the great side of that. And it was a really good Easter weekend. Although we were sort of partial lockdown here in WA, we still managed to catch up with our daughter. Mum and Dad by FaceTime, they live about an hour south, and my son lives 2 hours south of us. So that was interesting, trying to get my 85-year-old father onto FaceTime. That was quite funny, actually. And I just looked at it and I went, what am I going to do? I'd already been with a network marketing company called Zija International, who in January this year got bought out by Isogenics.
Ah.
So it was a nice transition. And the guy that I was driving with, his wife, who I'd met through Martin, I'd been with Zija through her for a year or more, not been active at all. Been using the product, but not been active. And took on Isogenics. It works for me. I feel comfortable with the company. It's one of those things, Russ, you say, if you feel comfortable with the company and you suit it, right place, right time, everything just seems to gel for me. And that's going pretty well.
Good.
Jumped into this arena.
Yeah.
Jumped into this arena through Ricky. Ricky I'd met when he was Uber driving. I don't know, 18 months ago, I suppose. And then he just mentioned to me about the cash business, and I went, and he didn't know my background as a broker. So I just jumped into that as well, and I can just see it, how it works, and the potential. I've tried to deal foreign exchange and share options and CFDs, so contracts for difference, leverage trading. A lot of time watching charts and playing with numbers and whatever. Whereas this other thing now just seems to work for me, and I get it. So when I talk to people about it, they get it. And but it is a lot to do, I find, with, I still cast myself back to when I met Martin 2015, 2016. My wife went, you got to come and meet this guy. You really have to come and meet this guy. And I purely went to see Martin about what he had done post him leaving his FIFO life and that sort of business, because I was very, very bitter about what had happened to me. They got me back into the company to make me redundant. They said, you're well enough to come back to work now, and thanks, you're out the door. So that was, I was pretty bitter about it. And that's when I went to meet Martin. But I left that conversation with a load of authors' names. read this, Wayne Dyer, Jim Rome, whatever. And that was the beginning of my journey. I think I had 1 cup of coffee in 2 hours, or Martin had some soup or something out of that cafe down in Vic Park. I still remember it. And it's been a life changer for me, lifesaver for me. And people I still talk to today, they go, well, how did you get into that? And the guys that know me in London, where I was, you had to be aggressive. You had to be self-centered. You had to be selfish to deal and trade and be successful. I did that, but a lot of the guys I still talk to, they're friends now, they're mates that I built through relationships and customer service. And that's now is, they don't understand my huge shift from where I was, let alone the weight. I was probably 20 kilos heavier than what I am now. And they go, is this the same beer swilling, swearing person that used to come back from lunch and have a go at people because he'd have a few pints and that sort of stuff? And they just don't see it now. So, they're good mates. We have a laugh and that sort of thing. But, I'm happy now. I'm in the right spot. I look very tired today because I was up at 3:30 this morning. But I've had a couple of cups of coffee, and I'll go and have some sleep later on. But yeah, I'm just thankful for everyone that I bump into. Nancy, Martin, Russ, Ricky, everyone that gets on this call. Even I jumped on a Mark's call the other morning, Mark Santos call, and I chat with him. It's like I've known him forever. It's just something that just clicks, and I just get on with it. And you still have the odd rough day, as we all do, but I know now that I'm not in that deep black hole, the slippery black well that I was in many, many years ago. We just never think you're going to get out of it. So yeah, and I was talking to the chap, actually Martin, I've forgotten how to pronounce his name now, Matejs, the Slovenian guy that we met with his wife down in Vic Park.
Matej, I think. Matej.
Yeah, Matej, yes. Ex soccer player for you guys north of the hemisphere. And he's only in his early 30s, but I met him when I was Uber driving, and a great chat about what he was doing, about trying to help professional footballers that had become injured or no longer wanted in the squad, or something had happened and they had no career and they had no income because they've been playing football since 12 years old or 10 years old or 5 years old and knew nothing else. So his sort of idea is to help those people then to recreate themselves and that sort of thing. And that's what I linked him with Martin. I thought maybe there might be some sort of synergy or connection there. So, yeah. But that, where I'm at the moment, just the company I'm in, I just use the products. People ask me what I'm doing. I don't force it down their throat. Is
that the Isogenics?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So you're based here, you're in Phoenix.
Yeah, in Arizona.
They're right in my backyard.
Yeah, Kathy and
Jim.
The old
I
man's
know them both very well. Knew them before they started Isogenics.
Yeah.
Actually, quite well.
Eric actually lives in Cottesloe now with his wife Peter. Yeah, so they live in Perth now. Peter was originally from Sydney. Peter Kelly, who's married to Eric Coover, and they live in Perth. And we're very lucky to have down here the first Isogenics millionaires outside of the USA. They live in a suburb, probably 10 minutes drive from me, down in Mullaloo, Martin. Yeah, so
that's great. So
it's great to have that connection.
That business has been booming for you, has it?
It's been going quite well. I've still got a lot to do, but it's something that gels with me. And the whole business, the whole company, I'll get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, get on a call, and I'll stay up at 8 o'clock in the evening on a Saturday night and watch a call. And I'll be up at 7 o'clock on a Saturday morning watching 3 hours of training. It's just something, I just get on with it. It works for me.
Good for you. Good.
So,
well, I am curious though, because I saw those pictures about you being top and roller. How did that play out? I'm just curious. What was your approach? You said it's been happening pretty naturally, but I'd still love to know what that looked like.
Yeah, I'm not a person that gets on the phone and says, you know what I'm doing, you have to do this and you have to do this and keep plugging away. It is more of a social media presence. The 2 or 3, that got me over the line with that particular thing was someone that I've known for 8 or 9 years, and she's over in the East Coast in Melbourne, and she just saw my posts on Facebook, and I just keep her up to date. Say, look, we've now transitioned from Zija into Isogenics. This is the new products we have coming out. This is the new website that I've got. Go and have a look. In your own time, and just keeping people up to date with what's going on, with new products coming around and that sort of stuff. And one of the other young girls was a coffee addict that I met at a networking group. She had 3 cups of coffee in an hour. And I said to her, look, I like coffee, but that's, there's some better stuff around than that. So she said, oh, what do you mean? I said, well, you get plant-based caffeine, you can get whatever you like, So she said, oh, give me a website. Didn't hear anything from her for about a month, and then just enrolled in the background and bought some products. And the other major one that's probably helped is my sister. She's in the business as well with me, as is my wife. Products are working for her. So it just works for us. It's,
great.
There's a lot of people that are very, what I deem to be aggressive, doing these power hours of texting 15, 20 people and that sort of stuff. And I'm going, I see Russ rolling his eyes.
Excuse me for doing that.
Yeah, but I did the same thing. I went, no, really, but that's not me.
I don't like. I pardon that reaction, but it was authentic.
No, I agree with you
because people do that, and then they wonder why people don't want to do network marketing. It's like,
yeah.
And that's and if that trips somebody's trigger, I'm like, hey, good on you. Just don't expect to duplicate that, because there aren't going to be a whole lot of people that really are going to get jazzed about it.
Yeah, that's right. And and I think I forget what it was. I was on a call the other day for like the cash business, and someone said in there was SW, SW, SW next. Some will, some won't. Some will, some won't. So what next?
So what? Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's just one possibility.
Sorry, Russ.
I said that's one possibility for how to do it. If you want to grind through the numbers, people say, "Wow, you gotta put 100 in to get the right 5. You gotta just grind. Get those numbers games. Numbers games are pumped it. Okay.
Throw enough at the wall, it'll eventually stick.
Yeah, and it just, for me, that's why I'm the skunk at the lawn party, guys, is for that exact reason, because I've got just a different message that hey, you know what, that is what's predominantly out there, is that type of thinking. People say, yeah, but Russ, only 5 out of 100. Yeah, well, not if you start with the right 5.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, the reason for that is you can always do random numbers, but what do you think is more interesting for people? Do you think, do you think it's more interesting or easier for people to be themselves and connect with people? Or do you think it's easier for people to learn to just grind through people? So some will, some won't, so what? Somebody right behind that. Okay. You want? I mean, it reminds me of, like a guy going into a bar and going up to a girl that he doesn't know and saying, hi, what's your name? She says, Joanne. He says, hi, Joanne, I'm Russ. She says, hi, Russ. So, Joanne, you want to sleep with me? Oh my God, what? You don't? Well, no, I don't even know you. Okay, how about you?
Has that never worked for you?
Hey, you know what? Sooner or later, you just might get a yes, but you're going to get a hell of a lot of slaps.
Yeah, you're going to walk out bruised and battered, aren't you? Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And I guess it all depends on what the objective is and how you go at it. I love hearing this, Glenn.
I watched some of the guys within. There's, I don't know how many people. Enrollments in Australia have been up. I don't know, 40 or 50%. In WA. Just in July alone. But a lot of that has to do with the transition from Zija into Isogenics. Mm-hmm. People have been dormant in Zija, as I was, and then they go, Isogenics, what do you mean I've got an app? What do you mean I've got a website? What do you mean I get paid weekly? What do you mean I can get ordered in 2 days rather than 3 weeks coming from the US? And it makes a huge difference. So those numbers have to be treated that way. And I got the slap over the wrist for pointing that out the other week.
Oh, really?
You were Australian sales manager? I said, of course it's going to be up, Mr. Whatever, because you've got this huge influx of people that have gone, it's a better system. It's a better, not better product, but there's a combination of products as well. Because the chief science officer from Zija left about March last year, vanished. When did he turn up? Isogenics. And then Isogenics by Zija. So then they've merged the 2 product lines as well. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But I sit on some of these calls and watch David T.S. Wood. And he just pounds, and he said, I think to one of our guys one day at an event, what do you mean you're not getting enough people? I've got a challenge for you. There's a train station down there. Go and talk to 100 people. Ask them, what do you want, wealth or health? And I went, nah. That's how to give the business a really bad name.
And that's, unfortunately, there's a lot of that out there. Like, this is what you got, and you know what? If you're not willing to do that, you're not committed. Oh, you're not committed. If you don't do that, you're not committed. And my position is, if you do that, you're going to be committed.
Should be committed.
You should be committed. Yeah. Yeah. I love hearing that, Glenn. What a great story.
It is. It's just, I was hoping, I was working really, really quickly in it to start with to get my product knowledge up. So people, when they ask you, you've got some sort of idea what you're talking about, and not start forcing it down people's throats and being the car salesman. And then I thought, come to the end of coronavirus period, I'm supported by the government still at the moment through a JobKeeper arrangement. So I've got income. So it gives me time to work on the business. But I'm now realizing that it's not going to support me enough. I'm going to have to go back and do some driving, but I'll be able to pick and choose what I do. And that will be great for my health and our marriage, of me saying, no, sorry, I've got to work at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night and 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So I'll be able to say, no, I don't want to do those jobs anymore. So it's starting to progress for us, and I'm just in a great place. So this time next week we'll be in Broome. But anyway, just let you know, Martin, for a week. So Broome's in the northwest of Western Australia, and it's 30 degrees up there at the moment.
Yeah, nice.
Where at the moment it's about 15 down here. So. But we'll be working from there. Denise will be working, doing quotes for the printing company, and I'll be on the phone or probably reading a book by the pool. So, but we're able to do that. That's the beauty of what we do now. I couldn't do that when I was in the corporate world. I had to plan it so far ahead, and no, not going back to that ever again. So, yeah.
Well done.
So there's no. I don't know if there's any gold in there for you, Nancy, but it's just something that works for me, and I'll probably buck the trend a little bit, where I don't go hassling people.
Yeah. I like that. I think, I guess what I was considering the whole time is that it's something about the energy that you're bringing to it, that you don't have a grasping energy. It's just authentic, the things are working for you. And there's also this sort of riding the wave of the two companies coming together and just, and showing up. Sounds like you're just showing up in a big way just because you want to, and it's happening, it's flowing for you.
And I'm able to, because I'm not doing the driving all the time, because there isn't any work. So that was it. Mm-hmm. But I've got big thanks to my wife. She's down working in the business with my daughter, 8 till 5 days a week. And then she'll come home and do quotes. But I'll be sitting here watching a Zoom presentation or doing something, and she'll be sitting behind me on the other desktop over there doing quotes. And we'll be chatting, if I'm muted and that sort of thing. So she, so I've been out this morning. I had an airport run this morning at 4 a.m. I then went to a networking breakfast down probably about an hour south of where we live. 2 reasons. I went to help out David because he had struggling. So David's a mutual friend, acquaintance, colleague of Martin and mine, runs a networking group. And not only that, the venue that he was going to, my mate from 30 odd years ago has just bought the place. So I thought we'd go down there and support them as well. So so we did that, and now I'm back home and dropped Denise in the office. I've got to get home at 10:30. I might go to sleep or I might jump on the call. And I'm glad I jumped on the call. got my cup of coffee and jumped on the call. But then I'll be back. I have to go back later on this afternoon because I've got the car now, so she's got to get home somehow. But we balance that now pretty well. Whereas when I first started working in the business, because we bought it just before I got made redundant, it was like a forced purchase from the other owner was going to shut the doors. And then I tried to work there for 6 months or a year, and I got down to it and I said, for the sake of sanity and our marriage, I'm not going to be in here full time. Can't do it. It's great spending time together, but not all your time. Not all your time.
Yeah. So,
and that's just what we do now. So it's hard work, but we're smiling. We're healthy.
Well, again, I just feel like there's this theme of you really show up. Whatever you're doing, because I think that when we do have the lifestyle where we can make our choices, it's sometimes easy to opt out. Or, I was up till 3 or whatever, you were driving or whatever it was. And It'd be easy not to come to this call, or, you know, so it seems like you show up, and showing up is powerful, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And I've noticed that about you. And just bringing your energy onto a call, even sometimes if you're relatively quiet sometimes. But it's nice to hear about the choices you make with your time. And now it's really no surprise that you're doing well without it being a forced type of a thing.
Yeah, and thank you. I struggle taking things like that sometimes, but thanks very much. It's just on Monday, I jumped onto a call at about 9 o'clock here, and it was run from Kentucky, where our Zija leader who's now our isogenics leader, Kevin. And he messaged me halfway through, and he said, "Don't go anywhere. I've got something that you'll probably need to know about." And I went, "All right, that's strange. Why did you message me privately?" And I've got some sort of personal development voucher for basically showing up, getting on those calls, and whatever else. So he's got some sort of voucher for me for, I don't know what it is, but and that was sort of like, yeah, I do these days. I get onto these calls because I know I get something out of them. Mm-hmm. And that's where it fell apart for me before. It was too easy to go back into an office and a job and a steady income, just for the sake of having that security of the income. But we've worked our way through that now over those 3 or 4 years, I suppose, that I don't need to do that. And what I'm working to in, 2 or 3 other businesses, I don't need to have that anymore. And also one thing that hit home for my wife especially was her mate in the UK, old school friend from primary school. She got home from a long weekend away, and her husband had hanged himself in the driveway. Mm. And he'd been going through similar things, which Denise hadn't told me about. It was obviously playing on her mind, and that was it. That was a conversation. I got home from work and I was in tears, and I said, "This is going to kill me." And she went, "I don't want to turn up like," I think her name's Jo. She said, "I don't want to be like that when I come home one day and then what's happening." So it's a big sort of, I don't know, not an eye-opener. It goes on all the time, but when it happens to someone very, very close to you like that, you just go, nah. Mm-hmm. But I just know what I get out of these things. So, I don't go in with any specific agenda to get anything out of it. I was actually feeling a little bit guilty because I hadn't done the homework, but then you said you hadn't done it, and Martin had only done 5 minutes, and poor old Russ had done most of it.
Just wait. Of course. Now, I want to say something, Glenn, and I don't care whether you take acknowledgments well or not. I have no commitment to embarrassing or not embarrassing you, I should say. So I want to say, first of all, I want to say congratulations, not just for your recent success, but for your journey and where you've come from in your description, and how generous it was of you to share that with me tonight and with us tonight. And I'm truly in awe of you, discovering how strong you are and what you're capable of. And it sounds to me like that's unfolding daily. What a wonderful path to be on. And I mean heartfelt congratulations. Congratulations. Really. You're an inspiration to me. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't put myself up there, and maybe that's where.
Oh, well, I thought this was a brag fest, actually. I was getting ready to say, when will he shut up about himself? Really? No, I mean, come on, really. No, not at all. You're the opposite of that. Come on, truly.
This is,
and you know what? This is not flatteries. Just after coming through chapters 5 and 6 of Not with the Devil, this is not just to be clear. I read that part about how the devil uses flattery, so it's not that.
Is that right? I did realize that.
This is an acknowledgement, and I will draw a clear distinction for you between flattery, and this is for you too, devil. The difference between flattery and an acknowledgement is flattery is you say to someone to make them feel good about themselves, which there's nothing wrong with that. People do that, and sometimes they have clandestine motives and sometimes they don't. But an acknowledgement's different. An acknowledgement is where you're telling somebody something that they gave to you. You're telling them the contribution they are to you, and that's acknowledging the receipt of a gift from them. So naturally it makes them feel good, but the point is you're saying thank you for that gift. And of course, hopefully it makes you feel good, but that's the difference. So yeah, and believe me, you'll get better at receiving.
Yeah, I struggle.
Okay.
I look back on things, and some of the guys in London that I've worked with, younger and older than me, different age groups. One or two now have gone on and done very, very well for themselves. And when we do get up, I've got a mate works up in Singapore. He just goes, I can't thank you enough, but don't put your hand in your pocket all weekend. And he just looks after us. Because I saved his bacon, he was going to get kicked out the door. And I said, no, there's something with this kid. It will work. And another one was an older guy. He was in his 50s when I was only 30 odd. And I had a heart-to-heart to him one night. And he came in and did the same thing as me, walked in the next day and resigned. I said, I first went, that was a really good conversation. Guys just walked out the door. But I saw him when I went back to London, not this time, the time before. And he said that conversation in that particular bar, he said, was probably one of the best things you've ever done for me. He said, we used to fight like hell in the office over certain things, even space on the desk. He said, but that conversation in the, he said made me realize, he said, why would I sit here and just grind myself into the floor for very, very little when he's got a family? And he had an accidental child when his kids were 18 or 19. He had a little boy beyond the medical boundaries. I didn't realize it could happen, but he did. And he now runs a business with his little boy, with his son, who's now probably 21 years old. And he goes, it's just fantastic. He said, I got out then. He said, otherwise, he said, I wouldn't have this now. He said, I'd still be, grinding away, sitting in the office in the chicken coop as it was. Yeah, so I don't think about it at the time. It's just whatever comes around to me. I don't know what it is, but yeah. Anyway.
No, that's great. It's great. Thank you.
Enough about me.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, it was worth the price of admission right there. Thank you very much.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
What's up with you, Martin?
Pardon?
What's up with you?
Nothing.
Are you guys at the farm or?
Oh no, we're back now. We because we have calls all day Wednesday and the majority of Thursday. We aim to get back on a Tuesday night, so we've got good internet. So we're back here now. No, just absorbing it all and just being present with it all and just taking in what Glenn was sharing and on the questions that were being asked. I know that something that really resonated me with what you said, Glenn, was about that challenge of receiving. And that was a huge one for me for many, many years. Right up until the lady who I call my spiritual mentor said to me, how do you feel when you help other people? And I was like, oh, I feel amazing. She said, how do you feel when you compliment other people and help them to feel great? And I'm like, oh, it's priceless. I can't put words on it. I can't put a value on it. And she said, So when somebody compliments you or chooses to give to you and you push it away, then you're taking that energy away from them, that experience. And I just went, whoa. And that made me realize that I don't want to take anything away from somebody. And it really shifted. That was where the law of giving and receiving truly opened up for me. Because I was just, I'm a giver. Well, I can't allow anybody else to give if I won't receive. And
that's right.
Beautiful.
That's right. That's and what a powerful thing to share that is. Wow.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And it's something so simple. And that's the big thing, that it was, but it wasn't from a place of ego, as in I'm the only person that should feel this. It was a lack of awareness and understanding to the true law of giving and receiving. But when it was spelt out to me and explained based on my own experience, I was like, wow, how could I choose to take that away from somebody else? And then that's the key, isn't it? Awareness is so important, because then you can make a choice. If you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah, and I think you just pointed out something else quite interesting, and that's getting a distinction like that, like getting it put that way. For instance, it's very popular to look and act humble. But I remember one of my great coaches told me humility most of the time is an act. When somebody's humble, you just get humble. You don't say how humble you are. And I actually can take an actual case from in the last 3 years, a guy that was incredibly successful in a company and a very dynamic speaker. And he would get up on stage and go on and on about how incredible he was. But the secret to his success was his humility. I'm not kidding. He would say that, like, but if you really want to be like me, and I know you all do, I mean, he wasn't being sarcastic. He would say that, like, I am, you got to pay the price. You got to be like me. You got to be willing to do this, do that. But the real secret to my success is you got to be humble. Like me, humble. And I would like, oh my God, you wouldn't know humble if it bit you in the ass. But it really is something, because we all, to an extent, have this thing going on as I can't be this way because that's not humble. I can't be this way. That's egocentric. No, that thinking that is egocentric. Worried about how you look is egocentric. Worried about how somebody will think this is egocentric. Not caring and being authentic and putting it out there and saying what you see and being genuine with it, that's what humility is about. Is putting your humility, humanity, sound a lot alike, and for me they are a lot alike. Unless you're willing to display your humanity, good or bad, that's humility, because we're all flawed, but we all get choices. Now, I'm not gonna pontificate. I do enough of that, but you know what I mean?
I was actually reading a blog all around vulnerability, and that was actually brought up quite a few times. It's vulnerability from memory, as I was reading this blog, and there were some things that were really interesting for me, and I saw things, some in its cases slightly different. But it was saying it's not about, vulnerability is not about getting what you want. It's about just sharing anything and everything about your life with no expectation, of outcome. And that could be success based on what success is defined to you, but it also could be pain, experience, anything. And you just sharing that in the moment without any expectation of there's no end result to this. I'm just talking and sharing in this experience, and if it resonates, great. If it doesn't, great, let's go.
Not being attached to what other people think is the most simple way to put it. Is we have a real attachment to what people might think of us, and it comes in all aspects of our life. The thing one of the things that was taught to me again a long time ago by a great mentor was about public speaking. You know, people are terrified of speaking before large groups of people. And I said to him, I said, you know, that's scary. And of course I'm a ham, and I love to perform, and I love to public speak, and that's just who I am. But even I, especially 40 years ago, was like, well, I want to do this good. I want to do this right. I want to make a difference. I want to do this and that. And I would be terrified. And when that drilled down, we drilled down on why. He says, what are you afraid of? I say, well, what if my fly's open? You know, I mean, what if I forget where I am? You know, what if they laugh at me? What if I sound stupid? What if I, all that stuff? And he said, look, as long as you have that going on, even if you think, oh, I'll put that over there. As long as you have that going on, you cannot make a contribution. You get to choose. And the choice is looking good, doing it right, being perfect, they love you, being committed to that, or making a difference. That's your choice. So if you're committed to making a difference, then what you do is focus on your message and not care about the style in which it's delivered, not care how good it's delivered, not care how you look delivering it. Just focus on what you're there to do, what your contribution, what your message is. Because if you are there to give a message, if you're there to make a difference, and you just stay with that, and I learned a lot from that. But the one thing I never learned was how to control the sweat that was going on under my clothing while I was delivering the message. Because somebody would come, I'd get off stage and they'd go, wow, that was amazing, Russ. God, how did you do that? You weren't nervous at all. And I'd go, yeah, look at this. I mean, these big, deep rings.
That's why you wear black shirts on stage.
So,
never a pale blue shirt.
So, yeah. You know what, Nancy, I'm interested in you. And you don't say very much. I noticed the picture behind you has changed. I'm not seeing keys up there on the wall anymore.
Yeah. So we had to do a little moving around of rooms because my mom, she's elderly, she's 88. She lives with us, and she just went through surgery and stuff like that. Anyway, the room she was in was no longer suitable for her. So we needed to do some moving around, and it allowed my husband to create a man cave of sorts. Wow. And so he got—
good for him. I like him.
Right. I mean, he's still got the St. Andrew stuff here, but I mean, he's got all of his golf, baseball, football. He's like, well, back, in the past, he liked to collect. He's kind of a collector.
Good. So I like him more now. Keep going.
And it's just like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of fun. But yeah, so this one, right. So I inherited this one, which I love. So I actually chose that, back in the day. So yeah, I kind of like the combo.
That's beautiful. It's quite
beautiful. A little bit of the golf thing going on, but I like it. It's kind of suiting where I am now. I always, for the longest time, I had the same office, when I used to have a small wellness practice or a small wellness center for women. And I had sort of my decor that I just had for years, and I loved it, like this cherry blossom and Buddha, and it was always kind of perfect. And I just really loved it. But ended up selling that with my last sort of big business venture before I met Martin was that I opened an entrepreneurial teaching venue for women. Mostly it ended up being for women because I've always I've worked pretty exclusively with women over the last 10 years or so. My life before that was I was a court reporter, a court stenographer for like 20 years. Yeah. And so, I sold that business, so to speak. I really just sold the assets of the business, and along with it went all that kind of beautiful stuff, but it was right. It was just, I knew it was like, it's time. I'm letting go of that and moving on to something different. And I kind of like the yin yang thing coming, together here.
Yeah.
I'm feeling more integrated in that way.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, what's happening right now, which feels really good, is that there was a brand, if you will, of mine called The Giving Woman, and it emanates from a book that I wrote in 2016 that really did come through as like a channeling from the Christ consciousness about, and I was instructed to write it to myself. And the idea being is my tendency throughout my life was every time something came to me of value, it felt as though I was always supposed to send it outward. Somehow it would miss the part where just actually talk about receiving, right? Just being able to actually receive something for my own sake. It was always like, okay, I need to now give that away and give it away. So it was writing the book, and it was, I would get these chapters every morning, that sort of, that beautiful, just upon waking, when you're still in that sort of quasi-conscious state, and it would just come through, and I say it into my phone. And so I wrote this book. Basically, the bulk of it is what I call the paradigms for the path of the giver. And it's sort of this counterintuitive approach to giving, which has to do with giving to yourself first. Because, for most of our lives, we're given a lot of messaging around what it means to be a good person, a giving person, a loving person. And then it usually does involve some thread of self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. More blessed to give than receive. Right? I said more blessed to give than to receive, the biblical edict that's always
and actually, so one of the paradigms,
to give than to receive.
Yeah.
Very
one
deep.
Of the paradigms is interesting.
Yeah.
Right. And it kind of flips that on its head. And it's really interesting because being involved with Noble Goldman and the focus on receiving as a result of giving, or the give-receive cycle, and it depends on what your orientation is or what your pattern has been. So for a lot of folks, learning to give of themselves is what's appropriate, because maybe they have been really good at giving to themselves first, and then there are others of us that need to kind of balance out in the other way. And so one of the paradigms is it is better to give to yourself than it is to receive from others. And it's really easy to misperceive that. But it's just that ultimately you're the only one that can give you what you need anyway.
That's right.
Right. And so it's, if you can get really good at like being the angel that you've been waiting for, it relieves a lot of the stress in your own life, and it relieves a lot of the stress on the people around you. And so it's really kind of, there's sort of a, counterintuitive in some ways, but there are these paradigms, and so that sort of brand was tied into, I'm a transformational life coach for women, and that is always a big part of what came naturally to me in terms of coaching women with that. And it's been the central theme of my life over and over again. So, so it's been an interesting 10 years or so, because I've had very many endeavors. I mean, I'm visionary. I'm a starter. I love to envision. It's implementation's always been the challenge for me, but just like no scarcity of inspiration. So much inspiration. I think you guys maybe can relate to that. But even down to like inventions. I was thinking about my body in motion bed that I invented a few years ago. Like, or I even sourced all of the, like, I knew who the suppliers were going to be for all of this, you know, and it's for the elderly and for the kids on the spectrum. I mean, it's like so many things come through. So I'm a clear channel in a lot of ways. And what I've needed to do, though, for my own sense of groundedness is to actually narrow my focus. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, as you know, I was really focused with Martin there for a while on Enagic, and then COVID kind of, you know, came in. And long story short, the quietness of the shutdown really helped me to get really in touch with the kind of life that I really want to live, and what I really want my business and my work life to look like. And so, anyway, long story short, I have a community page called The Giving Woman, and I just do the simplest of posts every morning that are basically encouragement and along this theme, right? And it gets a lot, I actually don't want a lot of interaction. I don't want to have to comment all the time, but it gets a tremendous number of shares. So, you know, it's like, it's messages that are really resonating. And I've known for a while that a group would be a good idea. And so it was just a timing thing where, and I have an editing business as well. So it was like, okay, I thought I was going to go into the copy editing because I love that too. But then along came this opportunity I made a big investment, for me was a big investment with these folks, Landon and Stapes, for, you know, generating revenue through your Facebook group. And they have some pretty kind of leading edge ways of doing that. So it was a timing thing. It was like, this is time. This is where the energy is. In other words, you know, the energy was already there. The message was already landing. And that's who I am. It's like, that I am that person. And I'll never run out of, the well will never run dry in terms of what I can share. And that feels really good. And so I'm like, I'm following their program step by step. And so that's where I am now. So I started a group, it's called Overcoming Overgiving for women over 40.
Overcoming Overgiving over 40, huh?
Yeah, for women over 40.
Right. I know, I got that. I got that for women. Yeah, but
because a lot of women over 40, you know, if their mothers are coming to the point where they're looking at that next phase of life, a lot of them know what it is to be to have sacrificed their own desires and are looking at what that next chapter might look like. And for me, in my opinion, you know, anybody that has the calling to be of service in the world, oftentimes, you know, it's important to lay the foundation of how to have that be sustainable. And that means filling your own cup first. And so I'm working on a program now. It's going to be a course, actually. And I'm very excited about it. And I also am really excited about the revenue model because it's what I call the pay it forward revenue model, which has been inspired by Noble Goldman. And I haven't really shared much about it, but I'm just feeling like, you know, the inspiration's there, you know, it's all coming together, and the implementation part is there for me too with this program that I'm taking part in. So that's really front and center. And Noble Goldman is going to play a role in that because the masterminding, even the masterminding or virtual meeting aspect of this program can and likely will take place with Noble Goldman as the platform. So that's kind of where I am.
Pretty damn good report there. That was wonderful. No, and I'm so interested because I didn't know any of this. It's wonderful. Thank you for that.
And thank you for asking.
That's great. So I'm going to remember.
A lot of I just got through telling Martin, like, Martin, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to be showing up on the 7:30 call because, and this is my 4th call today, but today I just have a lot of that kind of energy running in me, and it's just nice to be able to show up with other folks that know what that feels like.
I am so glad you brought that gift to this call. I am so thrilled that you are here. I'm just tickled to death.
Thank you.
Really. No,
and
I mean it.
I just was going to be happy just to listen, because it just, it's amazing to be connected to others who understand.
Yes, right.
I'd seen Nancy, I'd seen your group and your posts on it's coming, and now it's live. But it's great now to get some of the background behind as well, and it's quite amazing. Quite great.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done, Nancy. Part of me was like, should I request to join? Like, no.
Oh, and part of me wanted to. Part of me wanted to.
Under someone else's name, Martin.
I was like,
because I almost felt like, Martin, you can join if you want.
You're not 40 yet.
No, you can't.
I've got a feminine spirit. Can I join? Yeah.
Well, and it's that thing.
Well, it's funny because Christo. Did you say Christos or Christo?
I say Christo, but apparently it's Christos. Yeah.
Christos, right? He had commented that he thought it was a great theme, and I was like, hey, do it for the men. I mean, it's not like it doesn't only apply to women, but it's just relatability factor. I have that relatability factor with the women because there's some unique aspects.
I certainly feel it's when we think around Noble Goldman. I know you and I had this discussion, Nancy, that a lot of like the mastermind groups, so in the Facebook groups, are very masculine, as in the male focused, male books or so on. And it's great to see you stepping up into this area to really say, hey, look, well, it doesn't have to just be this way. If you feel, oh, I don't want to be a part of a guy's group, I'd rather be part of a female's group. And even my gym has it's a huge gym, but it has a female only section. Some of the ladies like to go in there, and that's perfectly fine. So giving them the opportunity, which then comes down to power of choice, you make a choice to what's right for you. But Noble Goldman offers you whatever you want it to be, and whatever you would like to create through it. Use it as a tool to empower you to actually move forward and create something that is needed. Because if you feel that it's missing, this is now your opportunity to provide that for everybody else who's looking for it.
Yeah,
and well done to you for choosing to do so.
Oh, well, thank you. But I think that's the nature of the platform, is that it's very open-hearted. And so it wasn't like, oh, this needs to be masculine. It's just that it came from perhaps a masculine perspective. But Mark and you, everybody involved, is just wants what is best for everyone involved. And there are Martina's got a great group with Soul Connections, which is but it was really funny, you guys, because I showed up on it the other night and they played this 10-minute video about daily habits, and it was so masculine, and I was just like so triggered, because again, that's a big part of my calling. I've done a lot of study around the divine feminine. I was even in a year-long mystery school that really looked at all the different archetypes of the feminine, embodied them, studied them, and identified them in ourselves. And so it's kind of a thing for me. And it's interesting because if somebody's not used to that languaging, it can sound like male, female, but that's not what, and you guys know that that's really not what it's about. But this video was so masculine, and here it was in this feminine, thing. And so anyway, we ended up having a great discussion about that. But you start to realize, then it was a real variation of some of us kind of getting that, what the masculine feminine was meaning. And then there were a few women who were not getting it at all. Sort of like, it was new. And that was really, really good for me to hear, because I've been steeped in this stuff. So I start to feel like everybody's steeped in it.
Right.
And then you guys know they're really not. And that's an important thing to recognize, because it helps you to understand that it's valuable and it's helpful. you know, so.
Yeah. And everybody's at different stages, as we know, in regards to when they're coming in. And I had actually, Mark played one of my videos for Noble Goldman, I believe, on one of the training calls or something. And all of a sudden I'm getting these friend requests and messages. I didn't know about this. And I'm going through and they're like, oh, your video is amazing. Your everything. How long have you been in Noble Goldman for? And I just said to this lady, I said, oh, well, I've been active for about 3 months. She's like, 3 months? I've been in 18 months and you're just amazing. And I was like, well, I said, thank you, thank you, thank you. However, please understand that it's irrelevant of how long I've been in Noble Goldman for. It's the work that I've done previously. And it's the decision to show up to my best in this moment right now and provide the value that I know I can provide for me, but for everybody. And then she's sending me through and she's like, oh, after listening to you, I want to change up all this. And I said, whoa, now you're wanting to be me now. And you're not being you. You need to go, you get the best of me because I'm being me. I am not you and you're not me, and this is the way it is. And that's where she's like, oh, people are now talking about you and so on in regards to whatever the title they want to put on me, Noble Goldman. And I said, the only reason that's happening is because I'm showing up as me 100% to the value that I know I provide. And that's why people are hearing about me and things are being spoken about me. But I'm no better than anybody else in this community. The only difference between me and others who don't choose to show up is that they don't get seen and I'm getting seen. That's all it is. No better than anybody else. So it was really interesting hearing that feedback, and I'm grateful for it. And one of the things I learned from Wayne Dyer was, I don't need to hear that, but it's nice when I do hear it, and I'm grateful for it. But if I live my life needing to it and constantly creating this stuff for the need of approval, then I'm never, ever going to be showing up as my authentic self.
That's right. That's exactly right.
You hit the nail right there, Martin.
Pardon?
I think you hit the nail. Sorry, jumping over Russ. I think you hit the nail right on the head there. It's, we've already gone. I have trouble accepting thanks, praise, whatever you want to call it, acknowledgement even today from Russ. But I don't go out looking for praise. It's nice to get it sometimes, but it's, that's not, well, you know me for a few years now, that's not what I'm about.
Yeah. And I don't believe that any of us are on this call. No. I mean, to be fair, each one of us is incredibly humble based on the conversations we've had. And I know that even with yourself, Russ, and you often really just show how humble you truly are when you're talking around what you do. And each one of us comes across with incredible levels of passion. And we've all had to work through our own stuff. There's no doubt about that. And I feel that with the ability for us to have these kind of conversations and these group calls, it really allows us to see the value that each of us brings through our whole life experience, and not just from a part of being a member in Noble Goldman, as in another number on the little corner where it says 3,000 plus members. It's the time we spend together to have these conversations and to ask these questions. And you're like, wow, this is, and the sad thing about it is that there is no way to truly express this externally. People need to come in and be on these calls to just really feel the level of connection. In all fairness, I know Glenn and Glenn's met me, but none of the rest of us have met apart from online. And yet I have more of a solid, strong connection to the three of you than I do to some of my family members and people I've grown up with all my life. Mm-hmm. And that's a challenge for a lot of people to even try and fathom.
Well, they won't until they have the experience and the distinction. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you for what you said, Martin. And I also, since we did talk about vulnerability on this call, I want you to know, all of you know something about me, that 20 years ago, before I really, maybe a little longer than that, maybe it's 30 years ago, I get lost now, but when I really started a serious journey of personal development, what I learned is that my life was all about approval. It was all about seeking approval. And I didn't even know it. It was like a needle in my arm. And I had acting humble down, but I wasn't humble. And I desperately needed to be loved and approved and recognized, and and my actions and everything were so much about that. And it wasn't until I saw that, and I really saw it, and see that was my addiction, that I could really say, okay, so how about, it's not about that. And like, I just give that one up. And what occurred when I really started not doing things for approval, just doing them because they were there, not worrying about it, is I got more approval and more love and more recognition than I ever could have imagined. And I don't think I ever would have received an acknowledgement like that from someone like you, Martin, 30 years ago. So when somebody says that to me, it touches me deeply, and I appreciate it. And before we go, I wanted to know if I could just share something with you guys that I'm very proud of. It's kind of a breakthrough for me. And as a result of all the work we're all doing together all the time. Now, I don't know whether you know this or not, but for 30 years, some 30 years ago, I created what I consider a unique type of training to have network marketing work for people. And I call it untraining. And I've built organizations using this system, if you want to call it, that's not really a system, but it's more like a philosophy, but this system that addresses the three areas where I think people struggle the most when they're trying to build a network marketing business. And those three areas, the areas of where do I go, what do I do, and how do I do it? So the where do I go piece is the prospecting piece. The what do I do piece is the selling and recruiting piece, which I have distinctions for that create the same results, but they are distinctly different things, promoting and enrolling versus selling and recruiting. And then something that's called a duplicatable effort. And then there's the part about planning that's also missing. Most people, yes, they know about vision boards, they know about goal setting, and they know how important that is. But the structures and the paradigms, in my opinion, of time management and goal setting are very bankrupt. I mean, they're the same things are being taught that were taught 5 decades ago. And I think with few exceptions, we've as a society and as a culture, we've grown somewhat since then. So those things have changed. So I offer another perspective. And I don't call what I do the best training or the good training or the right training. It's none of that. I call it untraining because it's just a possibility, a different possibility for how something can work for people. Now, some 20 years ago, I taught that in the United States, in my own organizations, in the UK and in Canada. And I had I used to do live seminars, weekend seminars for as much as $10,000 a weekend. And I offered a money back guarantee. And I never, ever, ever was asked to give someone their money back, which I'm very proud of, actually. Today, as I've already stated, really what my mission is, I'm out to get my training out in the world, like get it out, give it away, have people not only do it, but do it and own it and train it. So it continues after I'm gone. Like, it's not about selling and getting people into the next level, and then you pay for this, and then you go to that. It's just getting the damn training out, having people go, holy shit, I got it. Wow. And do that. I'm beginning to attract some really interesting people that are building networks that are interested in the training. It's like, and Declan really started quite a lot of this just a couple weeks ago when I did the thing and that he set up with the Noble Goldman. And now, that I'm working with Mark and Success by Design, and its programs are going to be offered through Noble Goldman. I'm doing my first webinar, an 8-week course that'll begin when there's 50 participants. But it's coming up, and like we set it for Saturday, but it might not start on Saturday. The thing about this course is it can start and they'll be recorded, so people can come in after the first one and they get the first one on recording if they come in, so that they can catch up to wherever we are in the course. And it goes out 8 weeks. I'm holding it on Saturday evening here, so we can include people in Australia, you know. So I'm hoping that, you know, people will just get the word. You know, Ricky did something like this. I did a real bargain basement one for Ricky about 3 years ago, and he was so cute. He was so great. He went out, you know, and told 20 people, and it was great. And, you know, and that's where I met, Kirsty.
Yeah.
I think Kirsty. Yeah. She was in that program. Anyway, so this is starting. And the reason I'm bringing this up with you is I've got a landing page. And this landing page is successbydesign.us. That's essentially, you go there and it outlines what the contents of the course is and what you get for it. And one price is $199, like $199, and the other is $249. And the first 30 participants that do the $249 would get 1 hour of coaching with me privately. So what I would appreciate is if you go there and look at that and just give me your impressions and your thoughts about it. And it's not meant as an advertisement for you to get people to go or anything, but I just would love to know next week what you think of it. Or in the meantime, you can call me, or if you think that you know someone that might be interested in enrolling that, even though it's being done for a group, all of the training is generic. So it doesn't matter what network marketing company somebody's in, the training applies across the board. And the training will not be lecturing always, it'll be interactive. In each session will go an hour to an hour and a half, and we'll do more if we need to. And no more money, just we'll keep going if we need to for another week if necessary, just so everybody is complete and knows what they're doing, and they feel like they've gotten 10 times what they paid for it, 100 times. And actually what I'm offering in those 8 weeks is exactly what I used to charge $10,000 a weekend for. You know, so it's like, it's exactly the same, except we're doing it like this.
Mm.
I've been dying to tell you about that because I'm very excited of it and I'm very proud, and I just couldn't wait to share it with you.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Russ.
Very cool.
And what's the website again?
Successbydesign.us.
Okay.
Looks very good.
Oh, you pulled it up.
Pulled it up. I was trying to subtly type in the background so you couldn't see me.
So, so I'm excited and nervous, and it's very, very, very exciting for me.
It's like being a new dad. You've got this.
It kind of is. And the thing is, things are getting reinvented and reworked, and you know, going this way and that way. And I'm busy, and I'm in over my head, and I couldn't be happier.
Yeah, it's like being a dad for the first time.
Complete breakdowns everywhere, and I don't care. You know, it's wonderful. You know.
I love it.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, cool.
I look forward to checking it out. Because I wanted to laugh, Martin, as soon as he said, "Oh, would you guys take a look at that?" I'm like, Martin's going to go, "Don't tell Nancy to take a look at me."
What?
Well,
I don't get it. Share the joke. What did I do?
No, because he sends me stuff to look at, and it's like, you know, pages and pages of things.
This isn't too tedious. This is just a landing page. I don't.
No, I'm just teasing, but
yeah,
I really did want to burst out laughing when he said that, because I thought Martin's probably like, "Oh God, be careful what you ask for."
No, not at all. And this actually comes back to that giving and receiving, because I was extremely challenged, and I have been throughout my life in regards to asking other people to help me. And when Nancy now I can't remember how it came about, but Nancy had mentioned around some edits on something. And when I released my website, Nancy had said, I think I'd sent you the docs, Nancy, and said, oh, would you mind casting your eyes over? Or maybe we created it and then you went through it. And what I realized in that moment was I was allowing Nancy to be a part of this and helping her in a way, like give me the value and help me then receive from her choosing to give. So, and I mentioned it to Mark Santos this morning when I was on the call and praised Nancy in regards to the work that she does and how much she enjoys it as well. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's finding the people who really enjoy it. And I said, you know, in all fairness, the value that Nancy brings is important for me when I want to express, because I value Nancy and I value the gifts that she has. And it's also helping another pair of eyes go over and bring that energy in from a different angle. Mm-hmm. So I know that when Nancy will have a look at it, she will find out what it feels for her, and then if there's anything that she feels can be improved upon, which she would naturally share it, which then helps it become even more powerful, which is the goal, to resonate and connect. And when we go back to what was shared earlier on around, like you said, Glenn, you know, go out there and just, it's a numbers game and smash through them all. A lot of that I also feel comes down to where people are at from the color chart of where they fit in regards to the colors of the personalities. And that's been a case of also for myself learning, and it's through meeting and having these conversations and going, well, hang on, you know, where am I at right now? Knowing that, in all fairness, the color changes overnight as well, based on where we're at. And because I've shifted from being very yellow into a very strong red with a piece of the yellow. Literally since joining Noble Goldman, because of just how much I felt inspired or empowered to move forward with certain aspects, knowing that the plane needs all its power to get off the ground. And I needed to embrace a certain element of what I have. And people are saying to me, oh, you're very strong red. And I'm like, well, you're seeing the strong red because of where I'm at here. But if you got actually in a room with me or on a mastermind like this, you'd see a very strong yellow. Like, it's just, it depends where I need to be at what given time, but it's not cutthroat. So I know that it's a bit off track, but obviously we're from that side of what Nancy has brought to the things that I've done, but also the ability with this conversation to allow Nancy to express who she is and giving her that opportunity, and then allowing myself to receive, has created something beautiful from my side, and has built a stronger relationship between Nancy and I believe.
Of course.
Oh, it's been a joy. It's just a total joy. Well, I don't know, there's always been a special connection there with Martin. I don't know if it's some kind of soul intertwining in some way, but there's a lot of trust. There's just always been a lot of trust there. Yes. And I knew that, I don't know, that just felt like a really beautiful interaction when you allowed me into that, because it was totally unexpected, but you asked me a loaded question. You said, would you take a look at my site and let me know what you think?
that is a loaded question.
Oh, boy, does he want, just the floodgates open, because that's part of my thing. I love copy editing, so, but anyway, but it was much more than that. It actually was it was just kind of a beautiful experience for me too.
Beautiful.
Folks, I've got to go, but I've loved being with you just like I do every week. I wanted to leave you with one thought before I got that I brought to this call.
Did you want that, Russ?
Well, no, but as long as you got it, well, I'll say my remark about this. So this is a meme that I found online, and I'd like you to read it for a second, but pretend that it is a conversation with the devil, and instead of saying the devil whispered, just think to yourself, the devil wrote to me. And the response there is, today I whispered in the devil's ear, I am the storm. So that's the person's response to the devil, which I think is really funny, because the message here is the devil isn't nearly as tough as he thinks he is, right? I mean, that's kind of the thing here. But I had a reaction to this when I read it that I wanted to share with you. but I had the reaction like, not that the devil was speaking to me because I'm reading this and so that he's writing to me. So let's say the devil wrote to me, "You're not strong enough to withstand the storm." My response would be, "Do you mean YOU apostrophe RE?"
Yeah.
I'm sitting here biting my lip. I'm going to see what he's got to say.
Yeah. So I would say, you mean you're, correcting the son of a bitch,
Yeah.
And so
you know
anyway,
what you said? Yeah, doesn't make any sense.
yeah. No, or more like, you're butchering the King's English here. At least you can get your grammar correct if you're going to be trying to intimidate me, So I just had that thought, and I wanted to share that with you. And the other thing I wanted to share and this comes probably from my training, but there's so much now about the devil talking about how he manipulates the mind. There's a conversation about the devil and the mind and how he uses the mind, and how he does this with the mind. Well, I have this to say, and I'd be happy to expound on it on future calls. The devil is the mind. The devil is the mind. Because when you think about it, and this is something I learned a long time ago that I happen to believe, of course, it's just a possibility, but we are not our mind. And the mind is both a slave and a master with us. It's both. It's a dichotomy where it, in fact, is both. But the mind is something separate from us. If it wasn't, you could do surgery on somebody and find their mind, but you can't. You can see their brain, but you cannot find their mind. And people say, well, you can control your mind. And I'd say no, because if you could control your mind, you could stop thinking. You can't stop thinking, so you cannot control your mind. Your mind, which we refer to ontology as it, your mind is the ego, your mind is all those things, but it's a construct. It's one that we're not aware of. It's just kind of there. And as I said, it's both a slave and a master. But it's interesting that the mind cannot tell the difference between reality and that which is vividly imagined. Cannot, and you can prove that because you can have sex in a dream. Yes? And it's the same physiological expression and reaction as it is in reality, and yet it's not reality, it's the mind. So I've really gotten into with so much interest, and I also kind of, to be quite honest, I love the of the devil, it's like it's great. I mean, I'd love to just slap him, That's the way I feel about it. You're such a phony. But anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and I'd love to say more about it another time, but I'm loving it. So thank you for bringing this up for me, and I'm really, really enjoying it.
Yeah,
I wanted to share those thoughts with you tonight.
Yeah, it would be fun to discuss the mind sometimes, because I'm really into semantics too.
Yes.
I love how words mean different things to each of us.
Yep.
And just given the backdrop of this book, it would be fun. And all of it, Napoleon Hill's work, around the mind, and it would just be fun to delve into that and share our perspectives on it.
How many of you noticed this particular thing? And I don't know whether it's there deliberately or not, but, and I also, since I don't know what chapter I'm on, I don't know when it occurred, but certainly somewhere after chapter 5 and the beginning of chapter 6. But when the devil says, you won't share this because of the criticism that will come, you won't put this out there because the clergy will crucify you. They'll crucify you financially. They'll crucify you. You know, oh, they made that ill. No, no, no. They'll crucify you financially, and people will say this. Isn't it interesting how his wife wouldn't let him publish it until he was dead? Why is that? Why is that? I mean, given the content in that actual exchange, why wasn't it? Why did she hold it? So I don't know. It's just an interesting thing.
Seeds of Fear. I think that's chapter 7. I'm pretty confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like
so powerful.
Oh, it's just it really is, and it's a huge contribution to me, and so interesting. I love you guys. Thank you so much for this wonderful birthday.
Thank you all. It's been great.
Yeah, go and enjoy the rest of your birthday, mate.
Will do. I got a daughter to call back. She's been calling, wondering why.
Where are you?
Yeah, where are you, Dad? Okay, thank you. I'll see you next week.
Again.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
See you later, guys.